And AAA ratings don't mean anything anymore because we know that the ratings are all rigged, and so it's every man for himself.
This is from Chris. In your newsletter, you state we have entered depression, which is stage 2 of the crisis, and simultaneously stage 2 of the long bull market in gold and silver. How many stages are there, and what are they, and how long will each last?
You never know, but I think we're going to, in gold, we're going to have 3 or 4 stages. Stage 2 begins when you pass 850, which we've done. And that should bring us to 1750, which is a doubling. And then I would think another doubling in stage 3 would take us to 3400. And if there is a stage 4 or 5, we could see gold at 6800 or maybe higher. It's very, very hard to tell. It all depends on how things work out. And there's just not any knowing, but I can guarantee you one thing, you're going to have 3 stages. And how many after that, I don't know. I mean, gold, there's no telling where it'll go. And I'm not leaving silver out. It's just that when hyperinflation is over, silver is not going to perform the way gold will. So you keep that in mind. And that's why I talk more about gold and silver, because it's the two-edged sword. It goes up with inflation and hyperinflation, and it goes up when there's a flight to quality. Silver does not go up in a flight to quality. And that's been my experience over the last 50 years of specializing in gold and silver markets.
You did talk about the double top, and this person has saw some articles for gold and silver in regards of the double top. Their case is that the last time gold hit 1,000, silver was 20, but now it's 14 since silver is linked as an industrial metal. Also, it justifies the lower price. And you pretty much already commented on that, but I wanted to read you the question and see if you wanted to add anything else to that.
Well, there's no double top in gold here. I don't know what these people are smoking, but, it's people trying to make a living, trying to make a name for themselves, and they're being contrarian. And then I'm a great contrarian, but there is a time to be contrarian, and this is not it. People don't realize the underlying nature of what we're facing, and in the many, many years that this has been coming. That's why I've been involved for 50 years. It's been coming for that long. I knew back in the early 60s what these people were up to, and so did Gary Allen and G. Edward Griffin and Alan Stang. We all wrote about it. So to a handful of people, we all knew it was coming. We never thought it would take 50 years to do it, and that's why I'm patient. Now, some of the programs I'm on, well, don't you think it's going to happen next week, or February the 15th, or March the 15th, or April the 15th? And the answer is no, because I don't know. All I know is it's going to happen, so get ready. It's pretty simple.
We shouldn't be so anxious.
Well, people are greedy.
Yep.
And you don't want it to happen.
Nope.
I mean, let's hope we're all wrong.
Yep.
And gold stays where it is right now, $1,000 forever. Because you'll hold your value of what you've got. Everybody else will lose 60 to 100% of their money. Pretty simple. Be happy you listen to the program. Don't be greedy.
Second question is, other than Mint State 64 stains, what would be a good investment that could outperform? I mean, 64 stains are great. They're a wonderful coin, but also you have all the liberties, and usually the liberties can run a little bit more because there are less of them. They're a little bit more rare, and there aren't as many of them because when the liberties were made, people used them. So there's a lot less uncirculated, where the stains, when they were going into the paper currencies and they didn't they minted them, but people didn't use them. They were using the paper currency. So in an uncirculated condition, you'll have less liberties than you do saints. And along
well,
those
that's a great explanation. I don't think a lot of people knew that.
Same way with the fractional pieces. The fractional pieces are more expensive because people use them. You know, people use the $5 liberties more and the $10 liberties. And plus, as you go down in size, the manufacturing costs are more expensive. And this question is in relationship to 33, when Roosevelt confiscated coins and bullion. The writer says, Mick says, I think you can see why this was done. At that time, the public could demand gold for their paper currency. If this was done en masse, it would soon bankrupt the gold reserve of the U.S. Treasury. Not all people turned in their gold, but they could not spend it for fear of jail time and fines. Were these people ever able to spend this gold, and what did they do back then? If the government decides to confiscate gold, what are the people to do if they do not turn in their gold? How will they spend what they have?
Well, that's pretty convoluted. And the simple answer is that there will always be a market for gold and silver coins. What the value of them will be remains to be seen. If paper currency is not viable and people don't want to accept it, they'll use barter. They'll trade with one another. And an easy way of doing that is by using gold and silver coins. And so it's easy to get rid of them. It's easy to buy them in a black market. And I was in a black market in Germany in the early 1950s. And it was still going on. Germany didn't come into their own financially and economically until the 1950s. And so there was still remnants of what went on during the period just after the war. People weren't trading razor blades and toilet paper and soap anymore. They were working with cigarettes and alcohol for the most part in their black market operations. And people at that time were taking currencies because the German mark was pretty solid at that time, even though it was early on. But there's always going to be a black market, and you can't stop people from trying to survive. And so there will always be a market for coins.
And that market you want to get them from is Discount Gold and Silver Trading, 1-800-375-4188. And I was mentioning on the other program, you know, your alcohol is always good, your whiskey, chocolates. I mean, if you're looking for bartering items, I mean, these are, you always want to get things that, you know, people will want. Just like they
toilet paper, big item.
Toilet paper. You know, it used to be cigarettes and nylons, but, you know, now we moved to toilet paper and booze and chocolate. 800-375-4188. But don't forget, the alcohol is also you can use as medicinal purposes. And